I'm Kristen Lago.
And I'm Jodee Storm Sullivan, and welcome to episode 6 of the He Said, She Said podcast.
We are back, and I'd like to say better than ever. We're going to give you a little caveat. We recorded this podcast already and are doing it again, so it's going to be a little bit shorter, an abbreviated version of the He Said, She Said podcast. But do make sure you listen to us every Wednesday. Tune in on SoundCloud, watch us on YouTube, and subscribe to us on iTunes. They won't all be this short, but today's will, because again, I'm going to throw her under the bus. Jodee forgot to record the first one.
Oh, no.
Well, let's get started. We're going to throw that away, hit you with a curveball. We're going to throw some fast pitches. Don't worry about it. Everybody makes mistakes, as Hannah Montana once said.
Please.
My fast pitch of the night is about the Dallas Cowboys, by and large not my favorite football team, but they do some funny things on social media. So they took to Twitter to do the mannequin challenge, and first of all, the executives did it. It was horrible. It was plain horrible.
Yeah.
And then they're all shaking. They're not mannequin-like in the least.
It was rough.
It was, Jerry, you were having a rough night. But then the players, luckily, they are doing kind of the best they've done in a very long time. They're 7-1 right now. So go them, go Dak Prescott, big fan. But they do this mannequin challenge in a plane on the way home from their win. And it's incredible. They're in the baggage department. They are holding each other up, not moving. It's incredible. I wish I could stand still like that. No blinking, no mouth moving. They don't even look like they're breathing.
It was great.
Jodee, what was your biggest takeaway from that one?
My biggest takeaway, and you made fun of me when we watched it the first time.
Make fun of you again.
My biggest takeaway is that the players are riding in just a regular airplane. So I ride in the same airplane as NFL players. So
that was the takeaway of the mannequin challenge. So next time you look for the mannequin challenge, just think about the plane.
Yeah.
That's my fast pitch of the night. Jodee, yours was better before. It's still better now. I'm going to let her pitch it away.
So I'm a big fan of mascots, whether that be professional or college level or even high school. I really like mascots. So you have the Memphis Grizzlies here. Their mascot is dancing to Pony by Genuine. And not only is he dancing on stage or on the court, he takes off his jersey and his shorts and is just twerking and dancing and just putting on a show for everyone around. And I remember seeing this on Twitter, and it was labeled as NSFW, not safe for
Love
work.
it.
And it's so funny, but what's also a good takeaway from it is the stadium seats behind him are still kind of empty.
So empty. It's sad.
So he's like trying to get crowd applause, and they kind of just like reluctantly clap, especially the guys court side. And it's kind
of uncomfortable.
It's a little uncomfortable.
But like I give him a little bit of props, because like halftime shows are kind of the timeout shows get a little boring. So he's trying to do something different. So
he's trying to entertain the crowd.
The Grizzly is going for it. He probably practiced those dance moves all night. So go him. I would never. I wonder how much he gets paid to do that.
So it's probably not enough at this point.
So the next thing we're going to talk about, we got a big game that we are looking forward to watching this weekend. And not only is it a big game, but it's a big game day because
College Game Day is going to be there. Woohoo! And I'm not.
No, Jodee's not, but I will on the upside. I don't know if you've heard, but the number 20 ranked USC Trojans are taking on the number 4 ranked Washington Huskies. Washington doing incredible this season. I believe they're 9-0, 6-0 in the Pac-12. So incredible. Just a real turnaround season. I got to say, first of all, because I didn't mention this before, I give them so much credit. Chris Peterson, great coach. Yeah. I think he has a young group of players that are finally they've turned themselves around, and I really, really do kind of credit them for that. So I'm excited to see how the game goes. So we can break down a little bit. What do you think we're going to see on Saturday?
So I think one of the, similarities between these two teams is their rush defense. They both average allowing about 150 yards on both sides. Yep. Washington allows a little bit less than USC, but still around that 150 mark. So very strong rush defenses for both teams, but also very strong rushing offenses for both teams. Oh, yeah. You have Ronald Jones II for USC. He has 679 rushing yards on the season on 100 carries. And then you have Myles Gaskin for Washington, who has 952 yards on the season. But he has 51 more carries than Rojo, so a little bit of discrepancy makes up there.
Yeah, Rojo did struggle early on the season, so it makes a lot of sense there. But another matchup that I think is going to be really interesting to kind of break down, two very young quarterbacks, Jake Browning for Washington, a sophomore, and then Sam Darnold. We've talked about him kind of throughout all of these podcasts. So I think focusing on Jake Browning, he has really stepped up and led this Washington team. He had 6 touchdowns in their last game, 66-27 when they beat the Cal Bears. And I believe he is on track to break the only Washington quarterback you ever really think of, Russell Wilson. So he's on track to break his career record at Washington. So crazy there, but he has 34 touchdown passes, only 3 interceptions, over 2,000 yards and 67.7 completion percentage. So really great quarterback. And I think what that's going to do is present the USC defense with a really interesting challenge, especially in the secondary, because Jake Browning likes to pass the ball. They do have a great rusher and a great running game, but he does like to pass. So I think it's going to be a real challenge for the secondary. And I'm interested to see if they're able to step up. I'm really interested to see how corner Adoree Jackson does in this game.
Yeah. It should be a good time for him to kind of shut down the wide receivers and kind of limit Browning's options a bit. But we'll see. It should be a good game. You have Washington, who they score a lot of points. They're averaging about 48 points per game to USC's 32. So it's both some high power offenses going to be kind of trading. I think it's going to be a very defensively based game. I think both teams have very strong defenses. You have Washington, who only allows 17 points per game. USC a little bit more at about 23. So I think it's going to be an exciting game, but still very defense heavy.
Yeah, we were talking about earlier that it's just a must-win for both teams. Washington, like we said, ranked number 4. If they want to stay in that top college football, the playoff rankings, they have to win. They can't afford to kind of lose their undefeated season at this. And I wonder if they are taking USC for granted. I don't think Peterson is, just based off a lot of what I've heard him say in a lot of press conferences. I think the quote was USC is back to being USC. So I do think neither are taking this game for granted. Obviously, USC knows they're going against a very good Washington team. I'm sure they've been in the film room back and forth kind of breaking down their tape. But I'm really interested to see how it breaks down. USC needs this win to keep their winning streak alive and also to keep their, Pac-12 chances alive, because they're only slightly behind Colorado in terms of the record. And because they beat Colorado, as long as they win out this season, they will take the Pac-12 South. So going to be a really interesting game, a lot at stake. And then it's possibly going to be raining. So I think that'll be another factor that might kind of work against USC. Washington, obviously, it rains all the time in Seattle, so they're used to that. But I think you were saying in practice they've kind of been preparing for that.
Yeah, so Coach Helton has talked a bit about how they've been practicing with wet balls. I think yesterday in practice they spent a good 15 minutes just playing with really heavily soaked balls, which is going to help them. If you can remember that Utah game, they had 3 turnovers in that first half, which, yes, it was raining. Yes, they had practiced earlier in the week, but maybe good some nerves, all of that was Sam Darnold's first start. So we'll see. Hopefully they've practiced better for the rain to keep it kind of close, because if they're turning the ball over to Washington, they're
not going to take it.
Take advantage, score a bunch of points, and really it's going to create such a large hole for USC. I don't know if they're going to be able to find their way out of it.
And that's something I think USC has probably talked about. They do need to capitalize on the first half. They become a first half team. If they don't, I think they need to keep it close. If they let Washington slide ahead, I think even by 2 touchdowns, I think they have to keep it within a 1-score game. Or else in the second half, I think, as we've seen just in the last couple of games, USC does let the other team kind of run up the scoreboard a little bit in the fourth quarter. So they can't afford to do that here. They can't afford to be turning over the ball as they have done against weaker opponents that we've seen them play in the last couple of games. So USC really needs to step up their game. So I think they will. I think it's going to be a close game. Like they're only favored by 9 points over the Trojans. So going to be a really good game. Obviously, that's why game day is going. So I'm excited to see who Lee Corso picks. He's a Trojan. He's a Trojan favorite, so I don't know. We'll see.
He picked USC back in 2013, last time college
favorite
game day
game
was
of all
here.
time, I have to say.
And I wasn't there because, well, granted, I wasn't a USC student at the time. I was still a senior in high school.
My freshman year.
But I was supposed to go to the game, and it was all great. My dad had tickets, and then it fell on the weekend of a church retreat. Obviously, I went to the church retreat, and it was a great time, and I loved it, and it was fantastic. But my parents were there, and they got to see, they didn't go to the game day taping, but they just got to see all of the kind of post-game day show, hoopla and everything, and everyone stormed the field, and it was amazing. And I just remember getting all these videos and pictures, like, at night when it was, like, time for bed. I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is the game that I missed. Of all the USC games to not go to, it was this one.
I have to say that's one of my favorites of all time, storming the field. So hopefully USC can turn it around just as they did back then, beating a top-ranked Stanford, that they can come back and beat a top-ranked Washington. But we'll have those updates for you. Next week, we'll probably break down that game, and we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be, it's a toss-up. I can't honestly say who I think is going to win.
It should be an exciting game.
Yep. But so we shall see. USC will be leaving tomorrow night to head up there. So
yeah,
here we go.
So, now that we're done with football, you ready? I could get a good stretch in.
I'm a little tired. Election night last night really got me down. We were working for about, I don't even know.
We had about 7 or so hours of coverage, so you have all the pre-stuff and the post-stuff.
We were awake till about 4 a.m.
Yep.
Let's put it that way. So,
it was late.
But we're still talking about the election.
Yeah, of course.
We're just going to put a little bit of a sports spin on it.
My favorite spin, I think.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Good way to look at it.
So go ahead,
for those
Jodee.
of
You can preview this one.
No,
I love it.
Lakers player Meta World Peace, formerly Ron Artest, he took to Twitter yesterday morning and said, "Today is hashtag day. Hashtag if Meta was president, I would make it mandatory for referees in each sport to play their respective sport once a week."
Love it.
Which I think is hysterical. I remember seeing this tweet just like laughing hysterically because, you know, refs, like some of them are maybe a little heavy set. You see them kind of trucking down the sidelines of their field or court, wherever they're working. And, one way to solve this, they got to work out, play the sport once a week.
I love it.
I think it's a simple
solution.
solution.
And he goes on to kind of define his policy as president of the United States.
Of course.
I love this commentary in this article. We're getting this tweet where it says, he understands that far too many Americans are working long hours without earning a livable wage. The tweet says, if Meta was president, I would get all my work done early and leave office after 3 months, but still pay myself for 4 years. Smart economics at best. He knows how to turn the economic situation in America around.
He's just beyond entertaining. Another one that I really like, and he's preserving the fine arts in this one. It's hashtag if Meta was president, I would have Saturday salsa night in the White House.
Instead of state dinners, we have salsa.
That could be great. It could be a whole thing. You could maybe enter a lottery or a raffle or something to get to go and to get to learn the salsa with President World Peace. See, that has a good ring to it.
President World Peace. I think people would really respect us if that was the name of our president.
I think that'd be a good
time.
So
funny. And the last one is just, so he goes on to define all these kind of policy-esque parody kind of things like we've been saying. And then the last one goes, if Meta was president, I would put a limit on the size a fake booty could be. Some are way too big. And then you're like, oh yeah, that's Meta World Peace.
Perfect.
Of course.
Everything is kind of real. Okay, this is kind of funny. I guess this is doable. And then just this last one, just Meta being Meta.
Oh yeah, no. So that really provided me with a nice laugh after a long election day yesterday. Definitely. But Meta, I love you. I love the Lakers.
He's a good
I love you.
He's entertaining.
Meta forever.
Meta forever. So that pretty much wraps up episode 6 here of the He Said, She Said podcast. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Yes.
Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, watch us on YouTube, listen to us on SoundCloud. Anything that really suits your fancy to kind of follow and keep up with us.
Yeah,
and,
we know we want you to watch us. So any way that
you
see
way you
fit.
can. We're fans. And for that, I'm Jodee Storm Sullivan.
And I am Kristen Lago. We hope you enjoyed this episode and have a good night, guys.